Hi everyone. Well, the last 2 weeks have just kept me very busy, but I still got these reviews to do. But I'm just feeling absolutely drained. That I guess I'm just gonna do a reaction video. Boy, I swear. Unless something amazing in this episode happens, I just don't see a reason to get the rest of the gear out. So here it is. Here's episode 10, Darkest Night.
Give me something to shoot at. Give me something to shoot at.
Crap! I hit the first movie by mistake. No, it says it's Race to the Edge and the episode, but that's footage from the first movie.
Typical.
Holy shit! Were any of you expecting that? I wasn't. This is just like Triple Cross all over again. There's so much there's so much stuff packed into this episode. It's just, okay. Whew. Alright. The episode is called Darkest Night, and it has nothing to do with Batman. Instead, it's all about how Hiccup seems to be at a very low point in his life. The premise is that while on patrol, Stoic is ambushed by dragonflyers, is sent into like a little mini coma, and the A-Team and the writers agree that now is because of this that they should attack Johann and his flyers. But they need a leader, and so that falls on Hiccup, which he's reluctant to do because he doesn't want to accept the fact that Stoic might die. Flashback to movie 2. And so while just hanging out in the Great Hall, because he couldn't sleep, all the writers they give all these various scenarios of what would have happened if they didn't leave for the Edge, if they had stayed on Burke. Two of the results would have been the same. Technically, one is that Johann would have had enough firepower to pretty much take over Burke because they'd be vulnerable. So the first half of the episode is definitely more to try to lighten the tone for such a heavy episode, because this is How to Train Your Dragon. This is not Man of Steel. But each writer's scenario, with the exception of Astrid, just gets progressively more hilarious, which I'll get to in a minute. So it's hearing these three scenarios that causes Hiccup to snap to just let out how if he hadn't shot down Toothless, none of this would have happened. To which now it's Astrid's turn to kind of put things in perspective, and it seems to work. And so, reinvigorated. Hiccup has all but accepted the idea of being active chief. He definitely knows that he has to lead the riders in a counterattack on Johann, but he still hasn't he's accepted that Stoic can pull through. Okay, maybe not accepted. He's reassured that Stoic will pull through. And then the episode decides to slap us with a cliffhanger with a beaten Heather and Windshear, saying that Vanaheim has been attacked. And that's how the episode ends. Now, kind of like Triple Cross, there's a lot of that's packed into this. I could go into detail, but I don't want to spend like 30 or 40 minutes on this episode because a lot of you have lives of your own to live. So I'll try to find the right balance between detailed and brief, perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Maybe Fish Legs was onto something. Anyway, what I really want to talk mostly about are the three scenarios, or actually 4 scenarios. First up is the twins, and surprisingly, they're not the most hilarious ones, but it's still pretty funny. We get some stock footage from episode 1 of the very first season of Race to the Edge, and then it adds more scenes into it of the twins low-keying everyone, because that's what they think would happen if they hadn't left for the Edge. Burke eventually devolves into chaos with all the Vikings low-keying each other, and that leaves them vulnerable for Johan and the Flyers to capture them. And Fish Legs counters that by saying that Burke would be pretty much a Buddhist utopia. It'd be like Shangri-La for dragons and Vikings, and the look is just it's amazing. It sells the fact that this is his mindset. It has this golden tone to it, and it's very hazy. And there's sitar music playing in the background. It's hilarious. But of course the twins interrupt this, and Johan kind of like subtly breaks the fourth wall, looks directly at the camera, and just goes, "I'm sorry, what?" It was I like that. And then we get to Snotlouts. He wins first prize for a hilarious scenario, because it's now all ego driven. The look is just it sells it. Everything is colored red. It's super hazy. It's so foggy. It's almost kind of like the Skynet future from the Terminator series. Snotlout has no helmet. He has a red headband and his dragon racing face paint on it, and he looks like he's trying to be like Rambo. Although I actually wish he would do the because then that would be even more hilarious. And he thinks that he would eventually make the ultimate Viking weapon, and God, it makes it even more hilarious than the last episode. I comment how he looks like Jack Black, because that shot right over there reminds me of the cover for Brutal Legend, the video game that actually had Jack Black voice the main character in it. Decapitation! The magic of editing, am I right? Of course, Astrid gets the best scenario, not because it's super hilarious, but because it's the most meaningful. It was meant to break Hiccup out of his slump, and it does exactly that. The whole scenario is that he misses shooting down Toothless, And so in 3 years, he's still working at the forge. He still has both legs. He actually has his old clothes, only I'm pretty sure he's not the same size. He's 18 years old. He would have hit his growth spurt. He and Fishlegs are best friends. Snotlout is commissioned a betrothal gift for Astrid, a solid gold axe. I'll get to the details later. Stoic orders him to kill a dragon, but he's reluctant to do that. While waiting in the cove, Toothless flies by to get a drink from a watering hole. Hiccup throws the net over to Toothless, but it misses because this is Hiccup. And it kind of looks like Toothless might attack Hiccup because he feels threatened, but no, Toothless trips over the net. But of course, like in the first movie, Hiccup frees him, and Toothless stalks towards Hiccup, roars in his ears, but instead of flying off, a challenger, a new threat comes by, and it's the Whispering Death! It might even be the Whispering Death from all the way back in Riders of Berk, in What Flies Beneath. You remember the Tremors episode? And so through various attacks, flying, twists and turns and crashes, everything is kind of normalizes. Toothless loses his left tail fin. Yes, I forgot. Right, loses his left tail fin. Hiccup loses his left leg. They both protect each other. Stoic rescues him and sees that Toothless protected Hiccup. And, after healing it, after both are healed, they both get their prosthetics. Then the 300 war between Dragon and Vikings is over, and Hiccup now has the respect of all the Vikings in Berk. And that's how the scenario ends. Now, and like I said, this was told by Astrid as a way to break him out of his state of mind, out of this depressive state of mind. So it's not meant to be taken too seriously, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to ignore some of the Easter eggs and inconsistencies. It's not something to just go, oh man, this is just like the most horrible episode, the worst scenario I have ever seen. I have read fan fiction that's better than this. No, it's just something to take note of. Now, I'm sure if any of you have read the books, you probably might have caught all the Easter eggs. I've only gotten through like maybe a quarter or an eighth of the first book. So if there's anything that I have missed, or if there's anything that you noticed, leave comments below. I really like to read them, and I'd also like to see conversations between other fans. Now, what I do know is that in the books, Hiccup and Fishlegs were best friends. They were really great friends, and we can see that they are in this scenario. Snotlout was a very abusive bully to Hiccup, even though Hiccup was the chief's son. During the quest to actually gain a baby dragon, Snotlout grabbed a monstrous nightmare egg, which is something that's only reserved for chiefs or heirs of Berk. Whereas Hiccup got the small dragon of Toothless. I forgot what he thought he was, when it turns out he was supposed to be a Dragonus Maximus. Later on in the books, I may not have read them, but I do research, and that's all the Easter eggs that I can find. The inconsistencies, now, there are a lot of them because I reviewed all the episodes, I watched both movies. Like I said, I wanted these episodes to be good, and I didn't want there to be any little goofs on my end for anything that I've said. Which is why when I was writing this episode, I actually thought that this was the first and only time we have seen actual footage from the movies in this series. No, it wasn't. Because last season, when we found last season, there was a flashback. In movie 2, how movie 2 had the flashback of Stoic's description of Drago, and in last season of this series is how we found out that Krogan actually had a connection to Drago. In fact, he was his right-hand man. Or, I guess maybe more appropriately, his left arm man, because he has no left arm. Anyway, but that was a clip from movie 2. That was a clip from movie 2. So essentially what I was thinking was half right. This episode actually does have actual stock footage from the very first movie that's in the series. So now that solidifies this as canon, which makes me question a few things about who's going to appear in the third movie, but I'll probably get to that later in future episodes. It's redubbed and rescored to help fit this scenario, and then we get a nice gentle transition to the series. So as you see there, these bars at the top and the bottom, these are the widescreen bars. And when the movie scenario ends, then we lose the bars. So now we're in the HD television part of the series. Now where the heck was I? Oh yeah, I was talking about inconsistencies. That's not an inconsistency. That's more of a incorrectly regarded as a goof on my end. That I was going for. Anyway, if you remember from movie 1, Stoic was extremely overprotective, but not exactly gentle in his treatment towards Hiccup in going out to fight dragons. Didn't even want him to go into dragon training. In this episode, now Stoic is all about you must go out, find a dragon, kill it, or don't return to Burke without one. Now, okay, yeah, 3 years does change, and I guess being seen as the runt and embarrassment of not only the village but of the chief might, desperate times call for desperate measures. And Hiccup, who seems to also have done this 180, whereas now in movie 1 he was all about I just want to kill a dragon, to all of a sudden I don't want to kill a defenseless creature. All right, again, this is Astrid's scenario. Astrid's scenario. It's meant to be taken lightly. Which also brings up kind of like the end of the scenario of how when Stoic just declares the war between dragons and Vikings is now over. Now, well, yeah, it's easier to say that, but it's still not going to stop. It's not going to stop the dragon raids because there's still the Red Death to deal with. But I'm sure they would eventually figure that out. And anyway, yeah, that's kind of all, and that's pretty much it. There's not that many inconsistencies. It's just kind of this is just a heartwarming little scenario. And that's the end of the episode. For a filler episode, it didn't really feel like filler. I mean, it finally introduced now what's at stake? It raised the stakes even higher, actually. I think even higher than what it was back in season 4, which was originally supposed to be the final season. But until lots of red tape, extenuating circumstances, and now we got this. And it was kind of a good, and like I said at the beginning, it's a good way to kind of make up for the last episode, which just felt very. It was mad because it was just back to the standard routine. And yeah, I guess there's no other way I can just drag this out. This was a very good episode, and I'm glad it happened. I'm glad we got a more solid connection to the movies. And can't wait to review wait to review the next episode. So, as you all know, DreamWorks, come on, this season, I'm almost done with the season, and the movie's gonna be out next year. Release the discs, and also this music was pretty good. Come on, release the soundtrack, and we want to see Night Fury babies. You better show the Night Fury babies. And if none of these happen within the next year, well, then all I have to do is gather the 6 Infinity Stones, snap my fingers, and millions would begin to exist. I would call that mercy.
You have an Infinity Gauntlet?
Well, no, not yet, but I can make one. I could. I know how. I've seen people do it on YouTube.